my grandpa, and Dana Ross knew me before this age. Dana Ross is not only everything that he's going to share with you today, he's not just that, he was also my first babysitter. So Dana Ross and I are Los Angeles natives. I think Dana might have been born in Chicago though.
No.
No?
No.
Oh, okay. So he was born somewhere.
Yeah, Sunset in Vermont.
Oh, me too.
Hollywood
so
Presbyterian.
I'm Hollywood Presbyterian. He's Hollywood Presbyterian. My mother's Hollywood Presbyterian. My dad's and so anyway, we're natives. We're natives, right? We are of this place. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to my first babysitter and also one of the first artists I ever met.
Oh, cool. Can you hold this and just like aim this?
This is Dana. This is Dana Ross. Give it up. Give it up for Dana Ross.
Yeah. Hi, you guys. So I was born here and brought up in the Hollywood Hills under the Hollywood sign. But then your teacher, Jennifer, also didn't tell you that her mother was my babysitter. So that's really funny. So I knew her mother when her mother was, like a teenager, which I mean I was a squirt, but so I've known her. Anyway, we're family connected quite a bit, and that's really nice. And then we've met up again, and her son is a friend of mine because he's a cyclist and I'm a cyclist, and it's all great. But yeah.
Do you know how old her son is?
How what?
How old her son is?
How old her son is? I'm guessing the mid-20s, like young 20s. No, wait. He just, it's like high school. It's like he's under 20 because he kind of graduated from high school, so he's probably 19.
He graduated a year early and he's 17.
17, but he's very bright, very mature, very healthy, and very interesting. Do you know his name?
No.
Yeah. I've met his name.
I think she said,
Leo.
Yeah.
What's my daughter's name? You guys should know that.
Harley.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like mine. And you had a question too?
Yeah. Have you ran the marathon?
I did the course one year, but I didn't compete. But I've enjoyed that course, and I ride my bike a lot instead of a car. I took a car today, just because my front brake cable is fraying, and I'm afraid that it'll break on the way here, so I took my car. Yes, sir.
Would you ride the bike here too?
I have ridden my bike farther than this, but today my front brake wasn't working, so I had to take the car.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you talk about your what's it called, your that
My camera?
what you do about
absolutely. And and I can talk about books, and that ties into books because first of all, books are amazing, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to talk about just books a little bit, and then I'll draw you out a little bit. I'll talk a little bit.
Yeah, and you guys, what we'll do is let him. He's prepared things that he really wants to share with you, and then when he's got that part done, we'll do questions. So like we've learned, if you have a question about it under the questions that you wrote this morning, just put that one word to remind you of what was mine this morning, Blair. I'll do an example. He has spent much of his life riding and loving bicycles. Oh, and I know he's traveled, and I have a faint memory when I was little that I think he went to France. So my question was, have you ever been to the Tour de France? So all I write down is tour. I don't have to write anything down more than that, just tour, so that when it comes time for question time, I'm going to ask that question. Thanks.
Oh, that's good. I made a list just like that to remind me to stay on topic, and I left it in the car. So just so you know, so this is extemporaneous now. But I could talk about me, but to me that's kind of boring because I know me pretty well, so you can ask me questions about me later. But I just want to tell you something cool with books, because you've heard that I'm a photographer, so I make images that people use, because this is my living, right? So the images have to be useful. And recently, I just made images for an orchestra that's playing here in town, and they made a book out of it. And they're, you know, distributing this book like to 10,000 people that are part of the orchestra. And so
Those are good photos.
it gives a different perspective because it's in book format. You know, that people can appreciate it differently, and the text relates to the word, to the story, and kind of it gives people a context to everything, which is pretty interesting. So it's kind of funny, even though I take pictures, you can make books out of pictures, not just words, as
So-
you know.
So you took the pictures of the thing?
Yeah, with this very camera. This is an orchestra that plays here every year, and I photograph a lot for classical music. Yeah.
Do you for when you take when you do this, do you get paid or like? Do you
Yeah, it's the only way I make money. I've never had a different job. And so I've worked with places like the LA Philharmonic with classical music. I've actually given working for free to nonprofit organizations in music, you know, that help kids learn, you know, with music lessons and learn violin and things like that. And I work for corporations like Google and Wells Fargo, and I photograph events and executives. They have more money, you know, than other people, so that's good. So, but that's the only way I've ever made a living. And I did move to France, as Jennifer said. I moved there and lived there for 5.5 years, and I did photography there, and I got paid for that too. So, getting paid is important, you know, because you're you know, everybody seems to need it, you know, from you. You know, you need it for your house and car and food, and the plumber when the toilet's stopped up. So it's good stuff. Well, I'll tell you one thing that I've grown to because of the phase of life I'm in with books, because I've read books all my life. I got into school early because I learned how to read early, and I always learn from reading. I loved reading, and I still read a lot, but nowadays, of course, we read more on the internet, you know, and I read books on my cell phone, you know, which is crazy. But one thing is that over 40 years, if you could imagine, or 50 years, if you keep every book you read, you know, you'll have a house that's all books, you know. If you're up on the top floor, it may not support all those books. So these days, I go to the library, and I take out books, you know, and I can just get books that almost interest me, or interest my girlfriend, and then when we're done, we just return it. We put it back on the shelf in the library, and the next person who wants to read that book can. So we even share books because they last so long. And it's a crazy thing, but like books on the internet, words on the internet, we don't know how long they're going to last. But we have books, like real books, going back hundreds of years, thousands of years. So these books last a long time. And I'll tell you one other thing. When I lived in France, I had to speak French. And I didn't know French perfectly. I knew it pretty well. But I'll tell you what's the best way I learned, even after I took it in school and ended up there, is I learned it reading a different type of book. When I went to France, I found there were comic books in French. Of course, the word Batman's the same, but everything else is here. Donc c'est une question professionnelle, the Joker says, or Batman says. And there are really funny ones, and I still have these. Like my daughter, because books last a long time, my daughter is now like learning French, and she's like 18 years old or something. And I just send her these old comic books that I had, and she's learning French with those, in addition to going to school. And then you learn how people really talk. But when I was in French, I didn't know all the words, France, so I got in the habit of using dictionaries all the time because I didn't know what this word exactly meant, or, you know, when people talk to me in French, I go, like I know and I figure out what they're saying later, and they think I understood, but I didn't really understand, but then I'll kind of do what I think they meant. And And so I used the dictionary a lot. And when I moved back to this country after 5 years, I was in the habit of using the dictionary all the time, and I realized I didn't know all the American words, all the English words really that well. So I started looking them up all the time, and I just got in the habit. And we'd be with a friend, and what is, sanguine? There are these big words that people use: anecdotal, penultimate, and it's kind of cool. And I would get when people said that, and I thought I knew what they meant because I knew what the rest of the sentence meant. Like, he walked in the room, he was really sanguine that day, so I felt good. Well, so that means he was happy, right? Well, I didn't really know what sanguine meant. Well, sanguine, you look it up in the dictionary, you find out, everything related to blood comes from the word sang, S-A-N-G. I mean, not sang like singing, but so when someone's sanguine, they're full of blood, they're full of happiness, they're bright. You see somebody, who's sad and like that, they're kind of anemic, but sanguine. So I learned all this by using the dictionary all the time. So I even went backpacking with a friend, like 5 days up in the mountains, and you carry everything on your back, and you want to be as light as possible, and you cut holes out of everything, so you save weight. And we still brought this dictionary, my friend and I, and we talked about words for 5 days. We argued about words, and this would solve the argument. So I like dictionaries.
What was the word yesterday? Empathy. Juan Carlos and I were
Empathy.
He described empathy in an action. He was describing something to me. And if you look, let's look up empathy.
Yeah. It's really good. And there's the roots of the word. Do you talk about the roots? Because empathy is the power of entering into another's personality and imaginatively experiencing his experiences. The power of entering into the feeling or spirit of something, especially a work of art, and so appreciating it fully. So that's neat. And it comes from the Greek word, en means in, and the Greek word pathos is feeling, so it's in feeling. And so you hear the word pathos come up quite a bit, like in sympathy, where you get the same feeling as somebody else, you share their feelings. And
you guys know in Spanish, simpático?
Yeah.
So you take that beginning of simpático and you add it to pati and you get sympathy.
Yeah, and that comes from the same thing as similar, so you get similar feelings. So when you learn more about the structure, the roots of words, you understand everything, and you understand anyway, it's beautiful. I love it. So, does anybody have a question? Okay, let's see what that says. So I could talk about riding bikes, but I'll tell you something else about history. There's another type of book that's kind of interesting that has been passed on for hundreds of years, and there are books of music, and this isn't just words, but this is music that's hundreds of years old. This is literally, this guy died in 1729, and he played music and wrote it down. He made his living selling the writing, usually. Nowadays you just copy it in a copy machine, but then they published it and sold it. And people are still playing this stuff. I mean, you hear this on TV, you go to movies and stuff, they play this. There are radio stations that play music. It's 500 years old, and it's because they wrote it down. And writing things down and keeping it is how humans have evolved to be so intelligent and constructive and destructive, that allows them to invent atomic bombs and invent vaccines that save people's lives, and they get to share the information over hundreds of years, and you can learn from something somebody did 200 years ago. But music is great, and poetry and songs. I mean, you guys all listen to songs, right? And those are written down, you get books of songs. And when you really read the words, some of the songs are really deep. You can learn about life. Sometimes in life you're going through a struggle that you don't know anything about. You think you're the only person that's failing in this area or sad or whatever, and then you hear a song that somebody wrote when your parents were young, and they're talking about the same feeling. And then you realize, oh, I'm not alone. This is kind of human. And so that's it, you know, so it's fascinating. So I think humans have evolved so far because we can write down our words and share them. So I brought a bunch of books because, as I tell you, I read a lot, I talk a lot, I listen to a lot, I hear music a lot, and then I have like a quiet time. And somebody says, I'm sorry, you have to wait for 20 minutes, you know, or something. The doctor can't see you now, or you're at a bus stop or something. And you know what? I go, I get 20 minutes to myself? That is so awesome, because so many people think 20 minutes, what am I going to do for 20 minutes? Well, guess what? I got a book. I pull it out, and I take my time. Oh, and I got my Starbucks reward card, so it's, you know, I can go, if I'm at a Starbucks, I can cash this in, get my free drink, which is really nice. And I get those 20 minutes to myself. Sometimes I write down things during that 20 minutes. And that becomes a good thing. But this is the book I'm reading right now. The guy is a genius.
What's it called?
This is a collection of short stories. So they called the collection The Pacific, which is one of the stories in here.
Can you guys predict what it's about based on what you know about the word Pacific?
Pacific Ocean is about waves.
Yeah.
What it is for?
Yeah.
Famous.
Sailor's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Or it could be about
it's really good.
something like that.
It could be about a man loving a woman, because sometimes people will say there's an ocean that divides us. Like if you have a conflict with someone that you love, there's a saying, it's like, oh my God, it feels like an ocean's dividing us, but they're just sitting right there. So it could be.
Yeah. And let's see, I'll just pull out another book or two. Again, this is for my sweetheart. You know, she's a woman. I mean, you know, got kids and everything. It's so funny, you know. Guess what? How old are you? I used to be younger than that. I'm so over 10. I was 10 longer than you were. I was 10.
Yeah. Do you guys know that I was that I was 10?
Yeah.
And that when I was 10, there was someone else who was like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard that.
So it's crazy because now I'm a dad and I have kids that are older than you, and yet I was 10, you know, and I'm not going to give that up, you know. Like I didn't lose being 10. I just I was 11 then, and you know, and then I was 12 and 20 and all that stuff. But I'm still that 10-year-old kid. Nobody killed that kid. That's still part of me. You know, and I remember so many things from when I was 10, and it's still part of my personality, the people I knew and the thoughts that I had. So every day is kind of pretty important. But anyway, so I'm with this woman, and she's my girlfriend, and she's 55 years old. Can you imagine? And guess what? And she's younger than me. Like I'm going out with a younger chick. Like older than your mom. Is that crazy? Because I like them young. You know, so 55. I'm 56. Yeah.
He's 56. His
Yeah.
girlfriend's 55.
Yeah.
I'm 46.
Yeah. Isn't that cool? But she's in the garden. She's like making a garden. So I just went to the library. I said, hey, this is a nice book. And I took this out and I brought it home. Now she doesn't need this forever. And I didn't necessarily have $30 to buy a book, so I just took it out from the library. I said, look, here's a nice book on gardens like you were talking about. She said, oh, thank you so much. And like I gave her something that has helped her life. All these ideas in here, she's like marking down things, putting notes. She gets to use them.
Can you make a connection? Can anybody in here make a connection between Dana going and getting a book for someone at the library and someone in your life that may have done that recently? Recently, who went to the library with a list of topics?
Yeah, what did you do?
There was something different.
Yeah, what did you do? Everything's different.
Um, well, okay, we were at the store. So my sister, she wanted no wait. I gotta think about it.
Okay,
Give me time.
maybe you have to write it down, collect your thoughts.
My friend bought me a book.
No.
Good. Oh, and this is really neat. Let's see. Oh, and I got a tip for you when you're older. Like, remember I talked about going to France, learning French?
Right.
Well, I always loved science, so I got a science book in French. And, like, I could study science, and I know that Stonehenge, you know? You know what Stonehenge is,
Oh,
maybe?
yeah, that, yeah.
Yeah, these are like, 2,000-year-old monument that's made in England
How you,
and stuff, and people are studying it because it connects to how the sun, to show the right shadow of the sun, so they know what day of the week it is.
right.
In prison, but this is in French.
Only.
Yeah, this whole book is in French. So I'm interested in science, so I learned a little science
And a little
and a little French.
at the same time.
Yeah, there's like Einstein. I mean, he wasn't French, but it's a really kind of great trick that can help you learn stuff.
Right.
What were you gonna say?
Yeah, when we came like in the the first week of summer school,
Mm-hmm.
Miss Jenny told us to write down what topics we wanted to read about.
Mm-hmm.
So like that way, because some people think that books are boring,
Mm-hmm.
but like,
Hey, some books are boring. There's so many books out there.
and then so she told us to get a piece of paper and write down the topics we wanted to read.
Yeah. Oh, that's neat. And but some authors, like all the, just like musicians, just like filmmakers and everything, some people make boring movies. And the thing is, if you make a book,
Alice in Wonderland.
you don't want it to be boring, right? So you have to practice. You write things, and you're not necessarily a genius the first time you do it. But the one thing is if you make a book or a movie or a TV show or music or whatever you make in your life, a building, as an architect or a construction person, you don't want it to be boring or stupid or to fall down. And you got to practice, to get good at something. So you don't.
That's why it's called school.
Yeah, and don't be too hard on yourself though if you're not perfect at the beginning. Like Magic Johnson's story about how he basically was thrown off the team because he wasn't good enough. So he just worked harder,
Right.
and he worked at it till he was the best one on the team. And you do that with writing, you do that with photography, you do that with anything. You can even do that in your own life with your relationship. You work at a bank, you can do it better than anyone else and get raises and promotions.
What team you like? What basketball team you like?
What?
I said, what basketball team you like?
What basketball do I like?
Basketball team.
Oh, well,
Lakers.
I'm at Lakers, of course,
Yeah.
Yeah, right here.
Is that the white
I
Howard?
got the White Howard. Thank you.
But-
No, you don't.
Oh, he said but.
But my biggest sport really is cycling. Right now we have the Tour de France going on, and these guys are riding like 3,000 miles every day for weeks.
Right.
And that's my awesome thing. Some people are more into basketball, some people more into soccer. And yeah, I get into cycling. But we've got it all for everybody.
Oh, yeah, you do.
And hockey, like some people care about hockey. I don't care about hockey. But if you do, it's great.
I kind of
Yeah. But you know what I think would make hockey really neat? What if they made the puck white? So it was really hard to see, and they're hitting around, and you don't even know what they're doing, and they can't even see it, and they're chasing it. That would make hockey fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be easier for them.
Yeah. What would you?
When you were little, what did you want it to be like when you grow up?
Thank you for asking. When I was really little, before I discovered other things, before I was a teenager, I think I wanted to be a lawyer, because I liked the concept of them figuring out what was right and wrong, and I also appreciated, I knew they made money, which is a good thing, you know. And I liked the respect they got in society, and I liked that I felt I could learn how to be a lawyer. You know, that was something where I knew what the path was to become a lawyer. You guys playing musical chairs?
No, they're gonna go to the
Have to go to
bathroom.
the bathroom? Okay, good.
Um,
Leave it clean. Don't pee on the seat.
Have a good bathroom?
no, we're not gonna do the whole, like, everyone exit.
You know, so
I feel
wait, there's a little altercation. You guys okay? Okay. Hold on. Let's let everybody gather their thoughts. Maybe, but I was asked how long I've been a photographer, and it was probably since I was about 15. I kind of latched into it, but I started making a living at it when I was about 18. Like I did up here on Hollywood near Vermont. I photographed a portrait of a guy. He asked me to do it in his hot dog shack that he had that was his own business, and I photographed him, gave him a print of him with the shack, which he used, you know, as an ad in the paper, and he gave me free food forever. I mean, now he doesn't have the shack, but anytime I went there, you want a pastrami, you know, hoagie, whatever it was, double hoagie, garbage burrito, whatever it was, no problem, Dana, come over here, you've got, you know, here you go, and he wrapped up, this is the one you like, isn't it? And he'd have it all ready for me, so. Free food, that was
Garbage
good.
burritos, everything.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
What's called Miss when like we Miss Jenny called us and told us what books we wanted to read, so then she listed them down, and then the next day she went to the library and picked them for us.
Oh, that's great. That's super great. I have to tell you about reading. Your ability, my ability to understand what I was reading.
Do you guys know what ability means?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like
How you do something.
yeah, how well you
do
do it. It grew and got deeper over time. You know, as I had more experience, as my brain formed, because our brain isn't even formed till we're like in our early 20s. You know, they found out it's like changes shape and wiring and all this stuff. Because, you know, like a 2-year-old, you know, doesn't behave the same way as a 10-year-old, right? And you guys, you know, in your age range, 10 years from now, you'll think different, you'll look different, you'll do things for different reasons, and you just want to keep it on course. But I read all these books, and it was great, and I listened to songs, and, you know, the Beatles and the Doors and whatever was around, and I got a lot out of it. And then when I went to college, university, and I took this college level English class, the teacher took some songs that I knew from when I was a kid, you know, like Beatles songs and stuff like that. And we started analyzing it, like he wrote out the words, and then we talked about what they meant and how they interconnected. I realized, oh my gosh, this song is really a lot deeper than I thought. There was a lot more here than just a guy was happy, then he got sad, then he got happy again at the end of the song or something like that. There's this real richness of things, interconnection that's really deep. And that made me read, that allowed me to read different and better, and I got more out of like putting on 3D glasses, you know, or something. It was like, oh, I didn't know why this person would do that. I used to watch this movie or read this book, and the guy did that, and I thought he was weird. Now I understand his parents were horrible, and they beat him when he was young, or whatever it was. And I understood more. And the same thing happens in reading. And when you read, you can understand more deeply. So books that I read when I was 12 looked very different when I read them in my 20s, and even if I reread them now. And it's kind of, you get that whole experience of seeing how your thinking grows and changes, because it's not going to stay the same.
Right.
Yeah, it gets deeper and richer, and you get better, hopefully. If you're going in the right direction, then you're always getting better.
Right.
And so picking the right direction is the most important thing you could do. You know, because in life, you go on the direction you're aiming, you know, like an arrow. If you aim it that way, it's going to go that way, and if you aim that way to your goal, you get to your goal, closer and closer. Yes?
Like, do you like being a photographer?
Do I like reading what?
Being a photographer.
Like taking pictures?
Oh
and stuff like
yeah.
that?
You know what's interesting is I love it, but it's also scary because I get into situations that I don't have control over, and yet the people who are depending on me need certain results, and I can't be 100% sure. I don't know how I'm going to get them the results they want. You know, somebody might need a picture of them with a politician at an event or something. Well, I've got to kind of get them together, and they both have to look good when they're shaking hands, you know, or something. And I don't know if I can do that, you know, in the morning, but that's my job. And or it can be another thing where I'm shooting, like, you know, actors on set at it, you know, taping a TV show, because I do that kind of work a lot. And, you know, I don't know if I'm going to get good shots. I don't know if there's going to be good light or whatever. So I have a little bit of, it could be a positive force, and I use it as a positive thing, but a little bit of anxiety, if you know what that word means, anxious, and a little bit of stress and nervousness about, am I going to be able to perform and get the shots my client needs? And if I do, then they hire me again. And if I don't, they don't hire me. And because I have experience succeeding, then I know, then I don't worry about the anxiety so much. I think about it, but I go into the situation knowing, well, I've solved this type of problem before. I have a lot of experience, so I can find new solutions to get what they need.
Do you think it's like fun when you like, or do you like taking pictures and stuff like that?
Yeah. But things have changed because I have so many pictures from so many years, and I used to shoot with film, and I have a garage full of negatives. I have everything I've ever shot.
You guys know what a negative is?
Yeah.
Before digital cameras, before we saved, you know, pictures, it all comes down to zeros and ones with digital stuff. So before it was something that we could, Ryan's really good at describing this actually, before it was something that you could just transfer from a camera to a computer, and then it would be there. We had this thing called film, and you would put the film, the canister of film, into the camera, and then you would stretch it across, and light would come through the camera. Well, it still does. I mean, I still take pictures sometimes with film, but it comes through the camera, and it leaves an impression on this film. It's like plastic paper, it feels like that. And then you have to take it and develop it. And when you develop it, instead of sitting in front of iPhoto and like putting, you know, great drawings on it, or like making it lighter, making it lighter or darker, we would actually have to go into a dark room with chemicals and dip the, develop the film, and then print the picture onto a piece of paper. Just talking about it reminds me of the smell of those rooms, because the chemicals really smell.
Yeah, I've got
there's all
thousands
this
and thousands.
film
I've probably
people
got
have.
2,000 pounds of this. I mean, I've got, but nowadays I like it better with digital because I can keep them on hard drives. But I've got 10 hard drives full of stuff. When clients want me to find stuff from 5 years ago, you know, I've got online archives too. It's hard to find. So to answer your question, do I like taking pictures? I love it, but I really want to have a purpose for the pictures when the pictures are done, because I don't have a space in my life for useless pictures. All my pictures need to have a purpose nowadays. Like, I'm going to use that picture. Oops, not that one. But this is kind
Oh.
So Dana, do you think it's a good time now for them to look at the questions that we developed, we wrote? Maybe they've been answered, but then I see that some of you have been so good about writing down new questions. So find your questions in your journal.
I got a question already. I got a question. Okay.
Yeah.
So wait. So I'm telling myself this just as much as I'm telling you. When we ask questions, I'm sorry, let me start over. Get it right. When Valerie is asking a question, my attention is on Valerie. which makes her feel very uncomfortable. Okay, Valerie, I'm gonna be really listening to your question. So when Valerie asks a question, we listen to her question. We're not thinking about a question we wanna answer. We're not predicting what Dana's gonna answer. We're just with the question. Remember what it's all about, staying in the what? I say it all the time.
I forgot.
What?
On the topic.
Staying in the moment.
Moment.
Right. Okay, so Valerie asks a question. I'm really listening to that question. Then I'm listening to Dana answering the question. And then and then after that, you can raise your hand and you can ask, when we learned this morning what's called a follow-up question. So if Dana answers Valerie's question and he talks about how to photograph pink pigs versus green pigs, I might ask, well, what have you ever had to set up a shot with purple pigs? That's called a follow-up question, because I didn't know this morning when I woke up that he would talk about pink and white pigs. It's a follow-up question because I listened in the moment, I was present in the moment, I listened to that nugget of information, and I formed a follow-up question. So are we all clear on follow-up questions? You've got your questions that you've already thought about, and then you have follow-up questions. Who wants to start with the questions? Mr. Blair.
Well, and I have a thought.
Oh, good.
The person who holds this book gets to ask the question. So we'll pass the book around to each person. And you have your center stage now.
That's cool.
Alright, first question. When did you start liking bikes?
Okay, well that's a good one. I started liking bikes, as a kid. As
Listen to the answer,
Yeah.
don't talk.
Okay, cool. As soon as I could remember, I liked having a bike, and I remember when I got they called a Stingray back then. It was like used, and we went and bought this used Stingray. I have no idea whether it was like $10 or something, and I could ride it around our Beechwood Canyon and hop on things, and it was really great. But over time,
Focus up there.
when there was a period where people started getting excited about bike racing, when I was about 18 years old or 16 years old, and I got excited about it too. So I got a bike and I started riding it around for transportation. I didn't need a car. I could get everywhere I wanted on a bike. And then I started racing. And so that was really exciting for me. So that was like my physical sport, and it was my transportation. And I've loved bikes since because it allows me to do stuff. Anybody can pay a lot of money, get in a car and push on the pedal and go places. But here I get to do it. And parking's no problem. And if I go down a street and I smell incredible baked bread, I know there's a bakery near here, and if it smells good, I'm gonna find it. You can't do that in a car, you just zoom and you're gone.
What year were you born?
What year what?
Were you born?
I was born in 1956.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. And so you get to pass the book.
When who's the oldest? You the oldest of the three kids.
Yes.
Who get the most stuff out of all the three kids?
Well, that's an interesting question, but I don't know, because I wasn't that much into stuff. I know my brother was really good at breaking stuff, and then later in life he got good at fixing it again, so he fixes stuff for a living. But probably my sister, but it didn't matter that much. We weren't into stuff. Any other? You want to pass the book for
Go
the
ahead,
next
pass the
person
book.
asking a question?
Go, Miss yeah. And you can just pass the book on. You ready, Cheyenne? No, I know you're ready. No. Okay, go.
We're ready.
She's ready. Go.
Okay, and proud and clear, please.
When did you become a photographer?
Well, I became a photographer when I was about 14 or 15 years old. I was really lucky, but right up here on Sunset in Vermont, Hollywood in Vermont, was a park with an art center there called Barnstall Art Center, and for kids. And I walked in there and they were doing the neatest things I ever saw in my life, and I just asked if I could help. and they were all different artists teaching classes to kids for free, and I just helped them teach the classes. I helped them make stuff, helped them do stuff, and in that whole set of people and me drawing and painting, I fell into photography. When I saw photography, I was like so excited. I was excited by the cameras, I was excited by printing in the darkroom, I was excited by the pictures I could make. So it became clear after being exposed to all these different things that photography was me. And I didn't think about too much else. You know, that became the focus, and I never did anything else.
Go.
Keep it straight if you can.
Oh, follow-up question?
Yeah.
Based on what he just said, any follow-ups?
Okay.
Do people like call you like for weddings or something to take pictures?
They call me for, you know, I don't do a lot of weddings, but it has happened. People specialize in weddings because I work with a lot of classical musicians. There are these orchestras, and they invite me to photograph their weddings. And they always want a deal, so I don't charge as much as the big people that work in professionally with weddings. But I photograph a lot on TV shows. You know, when they're filming TV shows, I photograph a lot in music recording sessions. Tonight I'm photographing concerts and stuff, and I photograph a lot of corporation stuff, like the events where they get all the executives together. And what's nice about all these things is everything I go to photograph, they always have free food. You know, because there's lots of people there and they're always feeding people. So photographers always get free food. So.
And who inspired you to be a photographer?
Well, it was the photo teachers at this art center, and then later the artists that I learned about who were making photography. Their artwork inspired me. And I got involved doing artwork with photography long before I figured out, oh, I can make a living doing this. Yeah. Anybody else want the magic book? There you go.
Valerie.
Yeah.
Valerie, I know you have a question, and it's such a good one.
Why do you love bicycles so much?
Well, I love bicycles because I'm proud. Well, I like their simplicity. There's an elegance in the engineering simplicity that a human being could, just you, could pedal across this country. You know, some people have done it in 8 days. You know, just their human power pedaling across. I know a woman, a photographer, she died, she was older than me, but she's very famous. And she pedaled all the way from LA to New York in the 50s, you know, when I was a baby or before I was born, as a single woman, 20 years old. She met people along the way, she stayed places, she had friends to visit, and this is before you had cell phones, so you could say, hey, I'm at the corner of this and that, where are you? I don't know, man. And she wasn't texting people. She went all the way across the country over a summer. She landed in New York, and she started working as a photographer on a bicycle. And she became famous. She's done photos that you would recognize. So that's pretty amazing. Her name is Ruth Orkin. Brilliant woman. But so I like bicycles because you can do so much in them, with them, and your human power. Like some people drive their car to the health club and exercise, and I'm like thinking, well, why don't they just ride their bike and you can pass the health club because you're getting your exercise, and you can go somewhere it's a lot more fun. You know, you can ride your bike to the movie theater and you don't even have to worry about parking, and you're getting healthier while you're doing it. So that's why I like bikes.
Have you ever worked with a famous person?
Yeah. You know, well, that's the ridiculous thing. Like, because I'm a photographer, I get I get paid to photograph famous people. You know, and because I work in TV or I've been on movies and stuff like that, you know, like Paris Hilton, you know, is one, you know, that, you know, I photograph. I don't even think about it because there's people on like the E network. I don't even know who all these people are, and but I've been on movies with great directors who maybe their names you wouldn't know, and actors like Elliot Gould has become a very close friend. And you know, when I was a kid, he was a mentor to me. And the actor, or the director, Robert Altman, I was on many movies with him.
Here's a follow-up statement.
It was this.
Elliot's son and I were
Jason?
we went to Idlewild together.
Oh, cool.
Right,
His
and
name was Jason, right?
Yeah, and then the other connection, I'll make a connection
That is cool.
What's the other connection you said? Robert Altman, I wrote an essay, everyone knows what an essay is?
Yeah.
I wrote an essay about Robert Altman to introduce myself to New York University because I wanted to go to film school in New York. And I wrote an essay about Robert Altman and about how he had really helped me in my life and that's why I wanted to make movies.
Yeah, very cool.
I did make
What kind?
all kinds. We'll talk about it later. Good follow-up question. I promise. I'm committed to answering it. Where were we?
I have another question. What is your favorite thing to do? Like
My
for every day?
every day. Well, I'll be really frank with you, okay? I love making coffee in the morning. I like taking the time to do a beautiful job. It's like crafting something gorgeous, you know? It's like a Zen art, if you know what that is. It's like something you focus on the details and the quality of, and it's beautiful. So I like that, and I like cuddling with my sweetheart at night. Like just sleeping next to her is one of my greatest ecstasies in life. Just being near her while I'm sleeping. So that may be embarrassing, but it's really true. What?
Go, Shane. You want me to ask questions? Okay. When you're ready.
Jose,
I haven't heard questions from her. I'd like to know what you guys think. So, what's your name?
Me?
Yeah, this gentleman to your right.
Oh, this is Ryan?
Brian. So what do? Do you ride bikes or play soccer or do anything cool?
Not really.
Oh, come on.
Do you like books? Yeah.
Dude, what do you do? You tell him.
Tell me about that.
He's really smart.
Yeah. Yeah.
He likes Haggy.
Let's not talk about, let's let him later, he can have a one-on-one.
Yeah.
But Ryan, just so you know, I'll make this statement. I'm honored to know you and I'm really glad that you're here this summer because you've taught me a lot.
Is he crying?
No.
Cool. Well, I used to be really shy. Yeah. So.
Is it hard being the oldest?
No, well, I don't know, because
Yes,
I don't
it
have anything
is.
to compare it to, but being the first kid, like when you say oldest, what you really mean is like you're the first kid born in your family, so your parents are so excited because you're the first one. Like by the time they've had two or a third one, it's not so special, right? So if you're the first kid, they treat you really special, but on the other hand, they don't know what they're doing. They are like, they've never had a kid before, they learn how you're supposed to give birth and come home from the hospital and do all this, and then all of a sudden they're alone. They don't know what to do with this thing that's screaming at them all the time, and messy, disgusting poop is coming out of the other end, and, they don't know what to do. So, and their lives, they used to think they were single. They'd go to parties all the time, and now they have to be home with their kid. So I think being the second kid or third kid, your parents might have a little more parenting skills.
Yeah.
They might be better parents, but being the first kid, you get more attention. Like you get all the pictures that are taken of you, and then they kind of ran out of film by the time there's a second kid or third kid. I don't know if you ever found that to be true. Where are you? You have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I have one older brother and a little sister.
Yeah. So you're in the middle. Is that good or bad? How do you feel about that? Do you like your older brother, or is he a maniac?
60.
Yeah. Does he treat you well?
I never met him.
Oh,
That's
okay.
interesting. I have brothers and sisters I've never met.
Wow.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
She's like 21.
What is your favorite bicycle?
Well, You know, I don't really worry about the actual brand name on the bike, but the favorite style I have right now is something that's really useful. It's not too light, because you know, racing bikes are exciting, but they fall apart. You know, if you're riding them on streets every day, they aren't made for that. And so I have a bike that has racks on it, and so I can pick up groceries or carry camera equipment. I've had a bike trailer for a while that I could carry tons of stuff with. That was my only bike that's ever been stolen. But right now I like useful bikes, so it's kind of like a cross between a mountain bike and a street bike, but it's smooth tires for the street, so it's pretty rugged, and I can carry tons of stuff because I have to. Yeah. I have a friend who I just met, who I'm still friends with on Facebook. I just met her about 3 months ago, and she's Canadian, and she was pedaling from Canada down to South America, and she went all the way on bike. I met her in Culver City at a cafe, and she twitters with everybody and stuff, and she went to that big ecological conference that was in Brazil 3 weeks ago. I think it ended 2 or 3 weeks ago, and she pedaled all the way, like 6,000 miles down to Brazil to that thing. And now she's on her way back. And by twittering and Facebooking and writing about what she did, she had places to stay all along the route. People said, "Oh, good, when you're coming up to this area, you can stay here. You know, we'll feed you, you can stay here for a few days." So she did all that riding her bike. Unbelievable. And if you're going to go to an ecological conference sponsored by the United Nations, and everybody, wouldn't it be cool to ride your bike to something like that and not burn any gas?
You ready, Shoulder? It can be follow-up question. It can be something you wrote down before. Pete, what did you may have answered for one? Go.
I forgot what I was asking.
Are your brothers and sisters mean to you?
Are they what?
Are they mean to you?
No, they aren't. You know, it's really funny. I think my brother and I had kind of a harsh relationship because, as I say, he broke everything I ever had. He liked taking apart, and he didn't know how to put them back together, and he was like, but these days, you know, and time changes, right? And our parents are dead, you know, but we're really close, my brother and sister and I. But I mean, I talk to my brother every day, and I talk to my sister a little less right now, but we're very, very close.
Are you guys around the same age?
Yeah, well, we're within a few years of each other. You know, after my parents had me, they took like 2 years off, and then they had my brother, and then immediately after that they had my sister. So she's the youngest one. And but they did all in about 4 years. And then they said 3 is enough. I'm not going to have 4, you know. 3 is enough kids to handle.
Here's a connection for it. His brother's name is Morgan, and I had a bike, and someone took my bike, and weeks passed, and we all lived in the same neighborhood, and Morgan was really good friends with my neighbor Dwayne, and Dwayne and him one day found my bike, and they brought it back to me, and it was like Christmas.
No.
They're like, here's your bike. And then the other connection is that his sister Kirsten was the first person to ever give me a Barbie doll. Right? Yep, she's like, here. And then when she got tired of her Barbies, she gave me the case. She gave me the clothes. It's very exciting to me.
Did you have a dog?
Oh, that's it.
Oh, I want to look at that.
Please.
Yeah, give her the book.
I only have one.
Okay.
Have you ever considered being an artist?
Being an artist? Well, yeah. Actually, when I was interested in photography first, it was through Photography as Art. And it wasn't until later I tried to make a living at it and doing functional photos. And I still do art with this art.
Do you want, when he says functional, here's what I think. When he says functional photography, photography has a purpose because it documents a moment. So like if I go and I build a house with somebody and we want to know that we built that house, someone takes a picture so remember we built the house together. Or if something special happens, like when the person wins the football game, we want to make sure that we get a picture of Reggie Bush with the football that he carried into the end zone, right? We want to document that moment. That's functional, has a function, it's a purpose. We're gonna use that picture for years to come. It marks history. Then there's this idea of I took a picture last night of this tree in a park, and it was this amazing, really old tree. I looked at it and I said, oh, it looks like, you know those photographs of all of the freeways meeting together in LA that look like soup, like spaghetti? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
All the on-ramps and off-ramps and the freeways all like that. And I looked at it like this and I said, oh, that looks like the freeway soup. So I said, I'm going to take a picture of that, and then I'm going to put it next to the tree, and you put them up on the wall, and then maybe someone looks at it in a show and says, oh, look, that's man-made. We built the freeways, but the tree is nature. Isn't that interesting that the shapes in nature that are natural, organic, also, hey, humans make things that look like that too. So that's kind of an art piece where you go out and you make you take a picture, but you're not sure what its purpose is going to be yet, and then it becomes something.
Yeah.
You guys did that.
Interesting. Still not time to
Oh my God!
Oh my
Still not
God.
time. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Follow-up questions.
We need to.
Miss wants there's somebody at the door.
Oh, there is. There's someone at the door. I was trying to get her wrong again.
She right there.
Oh.
No.
Not all of you have seen this.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool.
Oh, not that. No. Here.
Oh, I saw that.
So here's a book that my after-school art class did, and some of you are in this book. So take a look at the book, and you'll see how we used art. We used photographed art.
They
You
made
got
it.
to rip it
Mr.
open.
I'll do that.
Yeah? You did this cover with me? Oh, that's
No, you didn't.
great.
They said
Giselle did.
No, I did. What are you talking about?
Giselle did.
What?
George's.
What? Girlfriend.
L'amour.
Girlfriend.
Nice. This is a great book. Do you know everybody in this book?
Yeah, Guillermo. Samaya. Oh, I know Samaya.
Yeah.
I know Erica. Erica, my sister.
Super.
Wow.
Who's that?
They're all happy.
JC.
Wow.
Moo.
That's great. I love that.
Oh.
Catherine.
Oh, that's really great.
I know Kisan.
Kennedy.
Super.
And Salazar, she's one of our students, but she's not here today.
Yeah.
Angie, she's great.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Blair Johnson. Wait,
Yeah.
Blair Johnson. Is Blair Johnson here? I think so.
No, I don't.
In the house. I heard woof and I threw my fork with a cake.
Oh my God.
Kingsley.
That is beautiful. That's a great,
Yeah.
that's a great way to do it.
Yeah.
So gorgeous.
So, hey guys, what we're gonna do? We're gonna share a takeaway. Hey, we're gonna do a takeaway.
I had a question.
Takeaways.
Yeah, no, she's my sister too.
What?
No, she knows
What's your takeaway? Your takeaway. What's one? What is your thought? What's a thought that you can take with you for the weekend based on what Dana talked or what came up?
I don't know.
Nothing.
How much are you?
1 minus 1 equals 0.
I don't know.
1 minus 1 is 0.
That's what
One
it
thing,
is.
a takeaway means an idea that I'm gonna keep in mind.
Alright.
Anytime you put a new thought into your brain expands and it just gets bigger, right?
I'm gonna
So go, Blair.
I'm gonna take away that he said that that he was the oldest and his brother broke everything. And
My brother be doing that to me.
thank you, man. Thank you. Like, his hairline messed up too. That's it.
Okay.
Why
Okay.
you looking at me like that, Steve?
Oh no, I was just waiting for any more. Anybody have anything? I know I'm going to take away something, and it's something it's a follow-up I have to do with Dana, which is, as you know, I teach art during the year, and I'm always schlepping. Schlepp is a Yiddish word for just carrying a lot of stuff, and I want to learn how to be more organized so I can ride my bike to work.
Me too. I would rock with you, okay?
I don't.
Anyone else?
I have a question.
Question?
That I didn't get to answer.
Yeah.
She had the book.
When you were young, were you shy about your name?
Oh, that's
You know, yeah, it's a funny name. It's not very common, Dana. You know, and when I was young, it was special. But you know, and it was kind of considered a little bit more of a girl's name than a boy's name. But my parents named me after an actor that was like an actor before I was born, named Dana Andrews, who was very famous, got an Academy Award and all that, and he was a man. And because my mother was, her parents were from Denmark, so it was Danish. So he kind of got those. Dana was a cool name, but it was a weird kind of standout name. I didn't meet many other Danas. I wasn't shy about it because it made me special.
I had like something similar about that.
Yeah.
Because my last name is Corolla, and they talk about my last name because it goes like Rocarella.
Yeah, well that's fun. That's a good nickname. I think that's positive.
what
Yeah.
we should play you.
Other question? You good?
Oh yeah, another one.
Yeah.
Oh, why did you want to be a photo? Wait, no, they already asked that question.
Yeah, that happens.
Good job, but that's good. I'm so glad you recognized it. That's good.
Yeah.
Any more?
Yeah.
No, any more from, I'm asking her, any more?
No.
Okay, Claire?
Like, where you buy your what you call it that cameras?
Oh well, you know what? It's interesting, but I don't buy cameras very often because you know I really just use them. Like I'm not obsessed with the camera equipment anymore. I just kind of find what I need and I use it. And sometimes on jobs I rent equipment that I don't have because I can't own everything.
Right.
You know, and the client will pay extra for the things I need. But I physically bought this at Calumet Photo on Highland.
How much did it cost?
Yeah, it was like $1,600, $1,800. But with the lens. But I took a lot of care, you know, in getting this my next camera, and this is already kind of 5 years old, you know. But what's neat is I got a job. You know, a client called me up and they wanted me to work 5 days in a row for $2,000 a day. And they were gonna fly me to San Francisco. So I said, yeah. So I said, okay. Well, they didn't pay me. So it's $10,000, right? So I sent them. I said that'll be great. We talked about the whole thing. I'm gonna fly to San Francisco. They're putting me in a hotel. That is cool, right? That doesn't happen every day. And because most of my clients are dealing with hundreds, and here we're dealing with thousands. So I said, you know what? I sent them an invoice, and they said, well, pay me half up front and half when I'm done. So I get this check for $5,000. So it's like, all right, I can now get a better camera because my old one's kind of worn out and too small. So I used like part of that money to buy this, and then the rest of the money, you know, I still had thousands of dollars, and then I sent them a bill. Well, you should listen to that. So after the job was over, they sent me the other $5,000. And then 3 weeks later, they sent me another $5,000. So I got $15,000 for 5 days' work. I don't even know why I didn't ask questions. I didn't ask questions, and then they got absorbed, they got bought by another company. Once in a while a mistake happens, or they loved me. They've used me since, but
Like when you first started, did you like buy the little 99-cent store little cameras?
no, you know what? You need to have a base level of good equipment. You can take great pictures with $100, $200 camera, but when I first started, I borrowed a camera. Like I couldn't afford a good camera.
Right.
But I was interested enough, and I will tell you this, if you're interested and responsible and doing interesting things, people get excited and they loan you things. They want to help you. And I'll tell you, I have a lot of friends who are musicians. They play instruments sometimes that cost more than houses, you know, easily. Their bows, a violin bow, costs $25,000, $35,000. And you know what? People who have money, who collect these things, they want to loan them to a great musician. So I know a lot of musicians that play $1 million instruments that are loaned to them for years, for decades. And so what I'm going to tell you is if you are doing cool stuff, people will help you.
Yeah, that's what I do at church.
Yeah.
Well, I don't take camera, but I like do a video thing.
Yeah.
I get like $10 a week each Sunday.
That's good. And you, by the way, you have that experience of doing it too, so you know what it takes to get the job done. And when you go to a future job, when you go to a future job, you tell them you already know how to do so much that you're worth more. That experience is in you. Even if they take the equipment away, you've got experience. If people can hand you equipment, you can use it better because of all the work you've done with it.
That's what they learn.
Yeah.
They have the equipment down for me.
Yeah, that is really good. Good
At
going.
church. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and this gentleman, yes, sir.
You still have that job.
Do I still have that job?
Uh-huh.
No, you know, that was just a 1 week thing. And then, you know, I have,
When he's
So jump here?
yeah. Yeah, I can stop whenever.
Okay, guys, so listen, wait, Felder. I know. So, when people come and give their time and share their story, we oftentimes do what? What do we do when they're done?
Oh,
Say,
thank you.
Right. And also,
Thank you.
Jackie has something to present to you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that is cool. And it's the same type of camera I have, too.
And she drew it.
That is so nice. Thank you, Jackie. It's a beautiful frame.
I drew it for her though.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. And JM, what's the M for?
My last name.
Yeah. Could I guess? Or
Yeah.
tell me.
They can guess. It's torture.
Maldonado. Okay, really good. Thank you.
Okay, so humans.
Thank you so much. I
Humans, you
appreciate
can
this.
stay and hang out a little bit with Dana and I if you want. You can also go outside. I need your journal.
Yeah.
Before you
And
go,
thank
there's one
you,
thing
thank
we
you
need to do.
For videotaping.
There are things we need to do to make this room
Thank
ready
you
for
very much.
Monday.
Good
I need
talking
your
with you.
journal.
Keep it up.
I need to push in the chairs.
Don't break it.
See, I've been
Yeah,
doing this.
thank you.
How
That
much
is
did that